Our top story tonight, the House Intel Committee devolving into an all-out war of words as Republicans on the panel demand that Democrat Chairman Adam Schiff step down over his continued claims that President Trump's campaign colluded with the Russians in 2016.
Your willingness to continue to promote a demonstrably false narrative is alarming. The findings of the special counsel conclusively refute your past and present assertions and have exposed you as having abused your position to knowingly promote false information. As such, we have no faith in your ability to discharge your duties.
My colleagues may think it's okay that the Russians offered dirt on a Democratic candidate for president as part of what was described as the Russian government's effort to help the Trump campaign. You might think that's okay. I don't think it's okay. I think it's immoral. I think it's unethical. I think it's unpatriotic. And yes, I think it's corrupt and evidence of collusion.
Yield?
I will not yield. Mr. Ambassador,
you gentlemen, yield because you just made some things about all of us that I think we all should get the opportunity to respond to.
I will not yield. You attacked me in your opening statement, and
I have not had an opportunity to respond at all, especially to your statements of what we think, because no one over here thinks that. No one over here. I mean, you cannot speak for us.
Well, Intel Republicans aren't the only ones calling on Schiff to step down. President Trump tweeting, quote, Congressman Adam Schiff, who spent 2 years knowingly and unlawfully lying and leaking, should be forced to resign from Congress. Joining me now, former chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Fox News contributor Jason Chaffetz. So, Jason, two questions. Should he resign and will he resign? I suspect one is yes and one is no.
Well, I think what he should do is lose his security clearance. Without a security clearance, he can't serve on the committee. For him to lose the trust, albeit on the other side of the aisle, I have never seen it. Look, I had a lot of, when I was chairman, I had a lot of contentious hearings, but there was always a respect and a decorum that went on there. Now, look at the way the committee operated before with Dutch Ruppersberger. We never had this problem. And look over in the Senate between Mark Warner. We don't have these problems except with Adam Schiff. I don't think he should be the chairman, and I don't think he should have a security clearance.
And you know, there's an old expression in middle America, put up or shut up. He claims that he has seen evidence that for all the work that Robert Mueller did, for all the years that he was working at tracking down documents using 40 FBI agents, hundreds of subpoenas, etc., Mueller saw no evidence. He says, Schiff says, he has seen evidence of collusion. Put up or shut up, right?
Absolutely. And if you listen really closely what Schiff is saying, he's saying that the Russians were trying to do this, but juxtapose that against what Mueller's report, the synopsis by Attorney General Barr said. Yes, they did approach the Trump campaign, and on multiple occasions, they had the opportunity, and they didn't take it. They rebuffed it. So I got to tell you, Schiff has been singing this song for 2 years. It's full of lies. He's lost people's trust. And this is the Intel Committee. It's not supposed to be the political arm of the DNC.
And I love his false outrage where he says, you know, you might think it's okay for this to happen. I don't. You might think it's okay for Donald Trump Jr. to meet with a Russian woman. I don't think it's. Nobody asked him, do you think it's okay that Hillary Clinton's campaign paid $1 million for Russian disinformation? Do you think that's okay? Do you think it's okay that the FBI used an unverified, salacious report put together by Russian intelligence to get a FISA warrant to spy on a political campaign during the height of a presidential election? I mean, put it right back to him.
Look, Adam Schiff has been spewing this stuff for years, and there's no basis for it. But for him to continue now that the report has been summarized in its finality and there's nothing there and there are going to be no more charges. You know, one of the things, David, that I really worried about, I think you and I talked about this once before, the opportunity cost. There are a lot of threats against the United States of America, and how many times is this committee under Adam Schiff's direction going to ignore all the other things that need to go on in the world of intelligence to pick on this president? president.
Yeah, if he's seeing things that don't exist, is that the kind of guy you want in charge of our intel? Guys who are seeing these creations that are just made from I don't know what. I mean, made from stuff that certainly Mr. Mueller didn't see at all. Finally, I'm just wondering if he matters anymore. I mean, it's so clear now. He has been revealed as a peddler of lies. I mean, this was a lie from the get-go. It was a lie when Christopher Steele put it together. Whoever fed Steele that information from the Russians, however it was peddled by the Hillary campaign to all kinds of people, both on the right and the left. I mean, this was a peddling of lies, and he is the chief peddler. I'm wondering if he matters at all anymore.
Well, I don't think that journalists, so-called journalists or mainstream media should believe him. I don't think the American public could believe him. I don't think anybody else on the committee truly does believe him. He led everybody down a path that's not true. Here's the problem. He's in the gang of 8. He's one of 8 people that gets to see the same type of intelligence that the president gets to see. That's a problem, and that's why he needs to be pushed out of this position. Nobody can trust him. He's sold a bunch of lies to the American people, and he should lose that security clearance.
Well, it's like Ilhan Omar being on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. I mean, somebody who could be actually passing information, secret information, on to our enemies. There's a whole lot of stuff that is very dangerous for the United States right now that's going on in Congress. Congressman, thank you for being here.
I've heard, you know, with her, I've heard her see none of that evidence or even that allegation. So I want to be careful with that. But at the same time, this is up to Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi makes these types of decisions, and she entrusted Adam Schiff, but he's shown over 2 years. He's earned it. David, he's earned it. He needs to be off of that committee, lose his security clearance, and put somebody else. Another Democrat is going to get that position, put a different Democrat, and start to earn back the trust and deal with the intelligence challenges that are truly facing this country.
Jason Chaffetz, great to see you again. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.